Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WOR and welcome to another round of our beautiful mystery season. I am joined by the one and only Nathan Richards. How you doing, mate? He's muted. He don't know what he's done, but he's muted himself. So it's all right. We'll let him talk into the ether for a little bit. But welcome, one and all. So you can see him on to my left, your right. There you go. There he is, man of the hour. He's back.
Funny part was, so my audio thing disconnected for some reason, which it was working fine about 5 minutes before we went into the stream. So I don't know what happened there, but no. Great to be back once again here for WOR Tier 2, of course, penultimate round of the championship. And I think the biggest thing going into tonight is that Luca Rapassa isn't here and Leo Lund is, and the gap's only 14 points.
Yeah, that's going to change things. We'll talk about the points in a minute. So, of course, we are on now the 9th round, so the penultimate round of the championship, and we've had quite a gallery of tracks between now and, of course, today. So this could be where championships are made or broken. Last couple of rounds, as a bit of a recap, we had St. Qatar, followed by Italy, and then we headed to Spain for round 8. But round 9, I think I'll leave this one to you, Nathan. Where are we headed for round 9 tonight?
I promise, guys, it's not rigged, because we are going to Saudi Arabia, a place that we've just hosted the IRL Formula 1 Grand Prix. And yeah, it's quite weird, but obviously everything was planned before the season. Luke had a whole video with each track, and Jeddah fell on the weekend that it happened in real life, and it is just such a brilliant track. Of course, you can see Jeddah on our screens right now, of course, a track with the most amount of corners in Formula 1, with 27, but half of them, in my opinion, don't really count. But no, it's a really nice track, isn't it, Sappy? Very good for qualifying. Racing also gets a little bit dicey, especially heading down to that final corner where you try and play that DRS chicken game.
Yeah, there is a bit of a DRS chicken game, particularly on that third sector, because you have the two DRS zones that both lean on very close detection points. So you can by all means take the overtake into the final corner, but you don't necessarily want to hold on to it because you'll just get a retake straight after. Key points is the sector 1. So it's going to be turns 4 to 11. That's a pretty tight complex, particularly in qualifying. You have to get that absolutely perfect. You also have sector 2, quite a high speed section before you have a couple of chicanes, breaking things up, and then heading into the final where you, of course, have a braking test and test of courage, especially if you are fighting alongside other drivers. But as you mentioned, looking at the standings, you have Rapassa with 111 points and Leo Lund with 97, and then Zorzo in the third podium place with 77 points. But we have a few key drivers who are not attending tonight, which is going to make things very interesting. You mentioned Rapassa is not going to be here, but we do have a couple of other drivers who we may be expecting and aren't going to be here, meaning that they could potentially see themselves drop out of their respective championship fights.
Yep, certainly. And I think as well, a driver that I think mathematically is still in it is Diego Zorzo, if he's racing here tonight. Yes, he is. Obviously, if Leo Lund was to score no points and Diego is to win, that would put Diego only about, I think, 10 points off Luca Rapassa going into the final round next week. So there's still a lot to play here for Diego Zorzo if all fails for Leo Lund. But of course, the great thing to see here is looking at this grid, compared to when I commentated here a few weeks ago, I've noticed a few drivers that I haven't actually seen take part that much in this championship. The likes of Tope, Exafox, Tamas Kokani, and then also looking a little bit further up, the likes of Yannick Schmidt, who I haven't even seen, I think, more than twice on this F124 game, and then, of course, Gabor Chantos as well. So, lots of newer drivers joining here halfway through the season, Sappy. Does start to make things interesting, because you don't really know how the grids are going to form, especially at a track like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so you do have a few drivers who are certainly making waves. I mean, one that stands out to me, Cameron Dowd's only joined for 3 rounds and has been a repeat reserve, but in that time got 2 second-place finishes. That's why he's 7th in that championship order. You've got 3 wins across Rapasa and Lund respectively, but was a perfect round could tip the scales in the Ferrari runners' favour. The Racing Bulls in first place, but Diego also, provided that Lund doesn't score, a perfect round from Zorzo could put him theoretically about 9 points away from Rapasa and put him right in the firing line heading into the last round of the season. But as we look at the last race standings, and we see a lot of different names, some of which you were mentioning, especially looking at the margins, how tight they were at the Spanish Grand Prix. This is where we want to hear from you. So if you have anyone in particular that you wanted to see really push that boat out here tonight, we want to hear it in that live chat. We want to see who you're supporting, and we want to see who you think is going to come out on top. That also extends to you, Nathan. Who do you think is going to be someone that we should definitely keep an eye on heading into this next round, and championship for that matter?
I mean, I promise I'm not biased because I've commentated over him for 3 years.
Okay, good start.
And he's also very, very quick on this game. Cameron Dowd, of course, back in F1 22, he was in, I think, like, the equivalent of, like, PC Tier 4 here in WOR. Moved over to PlayStation after a couple of years, and has now moved back to PC. Has been here 3 rounds and sits 7th in the standings. I mean, if he started this championship at round 1, I think there'd be no worries about him being a championship contender because he's frighteningly quick. I mean, he moved to PS and instantly was like the best, or at least one of the top. Certainly a driver to watch here, but also another driver who I've noticed is starting to increase his form, Sergio Sobrino, here in WOR and also in PSGL. I've noticed him on the podium and in the top 5, so he's also a driver that I want to keep an eye on. But Safi, as you know, this grid is always a really tight contest, so it's always hard to pick out names, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is a tough one to try and juggle. I mean, for me, there is a lot of temptation to say Lund purely out of the fact that he's currently 2nd in the championship and he has the means to really turn this into a proper battle into the final round. But there is one other thing that stands out for him for me. It's the fact that primarily he has that world level pace. I really think he does have that top level pace. He knows how to extract it when it really counts, but it's that consistency. It's say for every top finish, there have been ones where he has made maybe one mistake too many, one track limit push too far, got himself a penalty, brought himself down. And if he can smooth out those rough edges, I think we've got a world-class driver here. But it's about bringing that consistency in line with the pace that he has, at times, shown and really has been able to push. Say, Sobrino, we were just on board with, but has unfortunately invalidated early out. So, first on the board is going to be, potentially, Diego Zorzo. Let's see if he can link it through.
Yes, just heading through that first sector now. A decent start to the lap here by Diego, of course. A very difficult first sector, a bit like a roller coaster. Heading through turns 4 towards turn 12. And then, of course, here into turn 13, the banks, left-hander. And, of course, wanting to run it one on the exit. Bring your way around the wall in towards turns 14 and 15 here at the high-speed chicane. Get the car thrown in. Use that curb on the exit on the inside to help pull the car around. And now, of course, burning the battery, getting that DRS open very shortly as you head your way down to one of the most tricky chicanes on the Formula 1 calendar. Turns 22 to 24. You want to just throw it in and just go in it and hope that the car sticks to the floor through there. Very nice here so far by Diego Zorzo, of course, is an outlier in this championship battle, so would certainly be looking to try and go for pole here tonight. Heading into the final corner. A little bit scruffy there by Diego, but of course the track has still a lot of a way to go here. So the lap certainly will come down. Heading to the line, goes to the top with a 26.741. A decent banker there by the Aston Martin.
Yeah, so a few more drivers now making their way down. Some are potentially near the start of their laps. You've got a 27.0 from Tamas Kokani. He's going to be the next one through. We've got Joe Van Bussel as well, 27.1 in the Racing Bulls. We've got Caden Lute, also with 27.0, just skirting himself ahead of the Mercedes. Larry Tulke is going to be 27, dead on to the millisecond. Seriously impressive run there. 10 points for precision. Perfect score. Leroy Brown is also going to go through second place, so second Mercedes on the board, and it's a 26.977. 2 cars so far making it past that hallowed barrier. We've got a few more now making their way, however. Andre Molnar, 26.804, half a tenth down on current pole sitter Diego Zorzo. JST coming up to the line, it's going to be a 26.872, so another half tenth, splitting the McLaren away from the Alpine. And I think that is everyone here, as we just have a last couple of stragglers from that initial set.
Yes, indeed. There, Gabor Chantos going up to P9 there with a 127.113. Then we have Cameron Dowds with an invalidation, along with Sergio Sobrino. So, shows how good of a lap it was there by Diego Zorzo, a 26.741. Just over half a tenth clear of Andre Molnar, who's also a driver I didn't expect to see up in P2, a brilliant lap by the Alpine. So yeah, really good stuff by those two to just kind of put themselves that little bit ahead of everybody else. And of course, many drivers as well, noting Sappi, made big mistakes and invalidated. At least I think 4 or 5 went back into the pits after their first runs. So it shows it's not an easy track.
Well, I think the fact that only 9 drivers got a valid time or abandoned, alternatively, they either invalidated or abandoned their laps, it goes to show the kind of track in quali trim that Saudi Arabia is. It is a track where you have to get everything near perfect. You have to push 100% of that track space, really put the track limits to the test, or you haven't got a competitive time. It's as simple as that. And these drivers at the Tier 2 level, they know that better than 99% of other drivers. So really, even just a single corner, they take one apex too wide, and that's it, game over. You might as well save some time, throw yourself back in the pits, and go again a little bit later on.
Certainly, and the next driver on a lap will be Exafox here. In P19 at the moment, of course, hasn't set a lap, and then I think it was...
Oh, he clips the inside, though. Just lost his wing.
And I think, yeah, got damage. And I mean, that corner there, Sappi, I think we've seen it a lot. And even from like the Tier 1 level drivers, that turn 4 inside, because of how horrible that curve is on the exit, you've got to get as close to that apex as you can. And of course, sometimes you go a little, like a millimetre too deep, and that's it. You know, you either lose a bit of your front wing, or
just
in
saw it
worst
there
case
from Lund.
scenario, lose a part of your, lose your wheel, and that's it, done.
Yeah, you just saw it from Lund to say a little bit too wide, you stretch it too far, invalidate. You go too deep, of course, there is a wall there that's going to very abruptly cut you short. And that is one of those turns that can dictate this entire complex of corners in the first sector. It's what sets you up for the entire set, turns 4 all the way to 11. So you need to get that corner right. If there's one corner you need to nail, because that could be about 3 to 4 tenths if you really mess it up and don't set yourself properly.
Always Rihard Sprogis there having an invalidation very squirrely through the final chicane at turns 22, and that's ruined his lap. Exafox heading back into the pits, and then I think the next car to set a lap will be Joel Marquardt in the McLaren. His teammate JSD sits in P3 at the moment, and a decent middle sector indeed there by Joel Marquardt as he heads his way down towards the final corner on this track at turn 27. Of course, DRS being opened here down this final back stretch into the braking zone just before the black box. Get on the brakes, get it down to third gear, get the car flicked in. A bit of a tap onto the wall on the inside certainly would have cost him a little bit of time there in his McLaren. But let's see, what can Joel Marquardt do? Up to the line and goes into P10 at 27.145. And I think the next car to cross the line here might be Justin Ertz.
It's going to be on an outlap, so it's not going to be a lap to monitor, but his teammate is about halfway through. Sergio Sobrino is a driver potentially to watch. We're going to jump aboard with him here for a moment, as many other drivers who are making attempts are heading back into the pits or just starting on their outlap. So keeps it nice and clean. You can see really pushing the limits on some of those curbs, going as far to the inside as he possibly can, just keep as straight of a line, and practically spending half the lap in gear 8 or anything above gear 5, really. You just want to maximize that speed as much as you can. And here we go into the final couple of corners now. So jump on the brakes just before the small light marker. And there you go. Nice exit. No wall contact. Sabrino could have a run on his hands here. Let's see what he does. 26.9. That's good for P5.
It certainly is. And to be fair, I think that he probably lost time in that final corner because it wasn't the cleanest that we've seen from drivers here tonight. The next one to cross the line will be our pole sitter at the moment, Diego Zorzo, but dives back into the pits, and he was up by over a tenth on his lap, as I think that was it Cameron Dowd jumping up to P6, yeah, in the Red Bull. A very nice lap indeed by the young Scotsman. And then we can see Larry Tulkey heading down towards turn 27 as well here in the Haas, another driver that has been performing well here. Let's see what he can do.
Well, he needs a quarter of a second. His current speed traps and deltas suggest that he's going to get about 2 tenths down if he makes this one absolutely perfect. So could put him in line with the second row. Just needs to link it together. Up to the line. He manages to make it. Great final sector. 0.675. New pole position goes to the Haas of Larry Tulkey. How are the other competitors going to respond? Andre Molnar comes through final corners here. And we'll see, is he going to be committing 100% to this? He got the recharge lights briefly. It's a 0.682. So track evolution very much coming into play. 7 milliseconds split them.
Yeah, it certainly is. And one driver there, which I think has got a little bit more in the tank, is Tamas Kokani, currently in P7. But when he was heading through sector 2, he was actually down on his time, but found about 2.5 tenths in that final sector. So I think he's certainly got a lot in that first and second, as the next car to cross the line will be Exafox, but he is currently just heading in towards turn number 13. So, of course, needing to set a lap here, along with Richard Sprogis, Ryan Grob, Leo Lund, and Justin Aerts. And there's a lot of pressure on for these guys, isn't there, Sappy? Because they've obviously got a chance here as Exafox flies off the track, and I think he's going to be... Oh, well, interesting tactics there by Exafox.
Did we just see the car equivalent of the stanky leg?
Yes, I think we did.
I mean, points for style.
Points
for style, don't get me wrong. I mean, if he's still on good time, then fair play to him. Let's see what time he comes out with. I think that was a bit of a visual hiccup. I don't really know how to segue off of that one, I'm going to be honest. But coming through final corners now. Let's keep it nice and linked up. Yeah, let's see, JST, he's just come through, 0.572, snuck under the radar with that, 28.5, so definitely was a time loss there. Wasn't just a trick of the eyes. Curiously, though, 6 minutes on the clock left to go, and Leo Lund has completely retired. We was on board with the invalidation, but now he's completely sent it into the inside. He's going to be on the back of the grid. He's lost the car on turn 4.
Well, Diego Zorzo is clapping his hands because he has such an opportunity here now to jump right behind Luca Rapassa going into the final round of the championship. Of course, Leo Lund, we would expect, will be starting in 20th position around a track which isn't that easy to overtake when you're in the middle of that train. Diego Zorzo, like we said before with Sappy, if he manages to win this race, he has the potential to be 9 points back from Luca Rapassa going into round 10. He's made a mistake there, and that will be that lap done, but he has got the chance to go again. So lots of eyes here will be watching the Aston Martin because, I mean, he has the chance to do what we would have called 3 rounds ago, the impossible.
Yeah, well, this is, at this point, Zorzo's round to lose. I know for a fact that Lund is going to try and make an early aggressive push, try and make up time, and see what he can do in terms of regaining those lost positions. But the fact of the matter stands, he's messed up quali. And in Saudi particularly, quali is such a big factor. It has that street circuit-like quality in that respect. That can make or break your race, and he's certainly starting on the back foot here. We're going to see Sprogis now come up to the line as well. Good running so far. Decent deltas. Let's see what he can make. 0.686. That's going to be second row. 4 milliseconds behind Andre Molnar. And you see Lund retiring from the session, but that confirms it. Best he's going to start is P20. He's right at the back.
I think another thing here that is going to harm Leo Lund is that we know once you go to the rear of the field, there is a bit of a pace disparity, and there are a few drivers which are a little bit slower. And that's going to harm Leo as well, because he's not going to be able to fly through, because there's going to be drivers that might be slower in the corners, but have that DRS to help push them along. So that's also going to be a bit harmful for the Ferrari driver. But yeah, certainly a lot of pressure here on Leo Lund going into the race, and just looking for drivers on lap times. And Gabor
Look at Gabor.
Chantos here in the first sector is up by half a second here, Sappy. He could be on for a pole position lap. And as I say that, he's lost a 10th in the middle.
Yeah, but you say that's still 4/10 of a second up. That can put him on a good 0.7 and potentially even the second row if he links up the final sector. So he's definitely got the pace on tap for this. We're going to see it all potentially come to a head now. I think Andre Molnar just came across the line there. Either that or Tope was in the Williams. Tough to discern the blue shades between them. But here we go. Zontos up to the line. 0.621. So makes up good time on Sector 3. And he's going to be on the front row, tailing Larry Tulke by about 0.5 of a second. Great stuff there. And that was, in fact, top A. So minor self-correction for Rama earlier.
And the thing is, coming out of Sector 1, he was on for a pole position lap, because the funny part is, the gap he had was 4.92 tenths in the first sector. He crossed the line and he improved by 4.92 tenths, which means that tenth he lost in the middle has cost him pole position here. So that is not good for Gabor Chantos here going into this final lap, because, well, no, I suppose it is good because he knows he's got time to improve, but not good on that initial lap because he's now lost that pole position temporarily. As we do see there, Cameron Dates, he was up on his time but headed back into the pit lane. And then I'm not sure who will be the next to start a lap. I think, Sappy, it could be... Is it the Ferrari of Zalambida here?
Well, Zalambida just went off track. He lost the car at the exit of Sector 1, just coming out of turn 10. The tail kicked. So that's why he's missing a good chunk of his front wing. And we were on board for that for a decent chunk. But now everyone's just trying to get back into the pits, and they're making that judgment call. So everyone who is in the pits currently is going to be heading out within the next, say, roughly 30 seconds or so, just to make sure that they can run under the time. So you can see suddenly mass exodus out of the pit lane, everyone going on their outlaps. It's the final shot, it's the final phase. You see those who are currently out on the track by this point, I think it's safe to say, are going to be out of it. That is their final runs done, particularly Bida, who has got a lot of time to make up before they can head into the pits, and they're just not going to have enough.
And surprisingly, yeah, Tope has also decided to retire in the pit lane. He's done in this session, along with Zalambida. They're also out of qualifying here. Ferrari on the, well, pretty much on the back rows of the grid. P18 and P20. Not what they would have been hoping for heading into this round. But the first driver on a lap will be Andre Molnar. Of course, you know, around this circuit, tyre degradation isn't that high. It's quite low around this track. So just say Andre makes a mistake here in the first or second sector, like he has done, he can now back off a little bit and go again if he's got the time, which I'm sure he certainly will.
It's going to be extremely tight. It is going to be tight, I think, within the few seconds.
Yeah, JSC's the next one to go for a lap. And I mean, Jay as well, I think this has came to a little bit of a surprise because he isn't exactly, you know, one of the front runners this season, is he? He's been a little bit off it, I think, compared to, of course, when we commentated, I think it was season 15, where he beat Joris Krozen in the championship. He's not got that same dominance anymore, has he? Nowhere near.
Yeah, well, the field has certainly converged in terms of pace, and while he's still on the sharp end of pace, that combined with this season being, well, a little bit of an oddball, shall we say. Certainly a bit of a
Andre Molnar! Oh my! So I caught him at the worst time through turn 22, and he absolutely clattered the barriers, and Leroy Brown as well, Sappy, into the wall here. I mean, if this was IRLF1, we'd have about 5 red flags by now. We've had 4 people bin it on track.
Just trying to find a position where would have caught it. So yeah, it would have been right about here. Unfortunately, they despawned. But yeah, so Molnar and Brown completely out of it, and then the time has officially stopped. So this is judgment time. Who's going to bring a lap home? ST is abandoning. Let's see who's going to be coming through still.
Zorzo heading to the line now. Can he take pole? No, he can't, but he does go up into 3rd place for the Aston Martin team. That is perfect for Diego Zorzo. Larry Tulke was up by a 10th, but has a massive slide heading through turn 22. That's going to be his qualifying complete. Next will be Rihard Sproggis here. I think, well, he's not going to be next, but he is heading down towards that 3rd sector either way. He is the closest driver here to pole position at the moment, Sappy, and he's currently just over a 10th off, but he's over a 10th up in that middle sector.
Yes, let's see what we can do here. So going to be that crucial 10th. That could be enough to put him on the front row. Could displace JST or Gabor as we head through here. It's going to be a couple of changes up. So Ken Luton 8th, Ryan Grob, I think just coming up in to 10th there. Let's see what Sproggis does. Up to line now. Sabrino, 0.49.
Sabrino.
0.455. Words. Words work. They're not right now, but Sproggis is certainly. 4.55. New pole position in the dying moments of quali. Sabrino and Sproggis make your new front row.
Well, I have no words. I mean, me and you both jumped at the same time when we saw those 2 laps go on the board. There we are. Richard Sproggis on pole from Sergio Sabrino. And I did say earlier, Sergio is one to watch. Brilliant lap by him. And just look at the gap they have. They're over a 10th clear of JSD nearly. And that just shows their dominance so far in qualifying. But then we can see JSD in third, Gabor, followed by Diego, Larry, Andre Molnar, Joel Marquardt, Keaton Lupp, and then top 8, round out your top 10.
So Dowds, Grubb, Kokeny, Van Bussel, Brown, Ertz, Schmidt, Bader, Exafox, and Leo Lund make 11 through 20. And wow, yeah, that was a sort of explosive finish in terms of quali there. Particularly that front row completely changing up in the last second. And as I say, Sproggis, despite not actually getting any, from what I can see anyway, any of the fastest times in sectors. He did lose a bit of time in sector 3 actually. He did get fastest sectors 1 and 2. Fastest sector 3 is actually going to go to, I think that's Gabor. He got a 26.745, but what a run from particularly Sproggis and Sabrino. It's a bit disappointing to say Leo Lund sort of drop out of that one. It's quite disappointing to see.
About Leo Lund, Sappy. Can I restart my PC? My wheel is B.
Your wheel is redacted. Oh dear.
Yes.
Oh, I mean,
any word apart from the word Leo used. Don't want to get sacked by Luke.
Yeah, say a Leoism, we'll call it. But no, yeah, that was a pretty explosive end to the qualifying session. I mean, you had some standouts as well. I mean, I know we had a bit of support for Andre Molnar. It's a 7th place, still a respectable qualifying result. You've still got some room to work with there. You've also got quite an impressive run from a few other cars, but I think we will save that for just a moment. Now, we are going to take a bit of a technical break while you hear from our good friends over at Gridfinder and Next Level Racing. While we do that, we're going to get into a fresh lobby, and we're going to get everything shipshape and ready for us to go racing. After a quali like that, I'm very excited to see what this round holds. We'll be back with you all in a moment. And welcome back, folks. Just a bit of a reminder before we go trackside for the penultimate time of the season, what the results were like coming out the Spanish Grand Prix. Now, the thing that stands out to me, Nathan, is the margins that we saw between the drivers. So Zorzo took a first place win out of that one, but you had Dowds 3.5 tenths behind, Torquay a half tenth behind that, and then another 3 tenths away, say Gottschalk and Sproggis. So top 5 all within a single second, and we know what Jeddah's like. So I would be expecting similar margins out here, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, certainly, because of how much, DRS there is on offer around this circuit, and how much time you're on full throttle. It's very hard to kind of lose a second over a lap. So most drivers, I'd imagine, will be within a second of each other by the time we get to the end of the race. Maybe there'll be a couple of trains form where maybe someone, I don't know, below P10, so maybe someone P11, P12 might lose a train, but then the drivers behind them will just be with them in a train anyway. So we'll have at least 2 or 3 trains going to the end of this race, which should certainly pose a show. Every time I've commentated over Saudi Arabia, there's always been a grandstand finish. Really, really interesting around this circuit. And also, strategy, I don't think will be that interesting, unfortunately, because I know, or at least on last game, softs and mediums could go. You could do a soft medium and get to the end easily, because track there, tyre deck is not that high.
Yeah, so just a reminder, folks, we do have the tyre ban still in effect, so no hards, otherwise you'll be subject to penalty. But this is one of the tracks where it's arguably going to have the least effect. It's still going to be a wild card of a race, because we know how much DRS checking goes particularly into the final sector, and how many mind games happen around that last portion of the track. But at the same time, I'm looking here, Zorzo's last round win was his maiden win, and I'm a strong believer in momentum. So I think that if not a win here tonight,
isn't it, going to the end of this one, because there's so much what's the word? There's so much on strategy, but of course it's not going to be as important because the drivers kind of know what they're going to do. It's not like they've got to guess, is it going to be a a 2-stop or a 1-stop? They've got that at the back of their mind, but it's all about track position around here and that DRS, which is so key, especially going on to that final lap. So that'll be one thing that we'll notice from the drivers. In certain sectors of the track, they might be slowing down a bit so they can get behind, so they can have that DRS advantage, because around a track like this, DRS kind of gives you the overtake. It's not really an assistant, is it? It pretty much does the overtaking for you.
Yeah. Well, if not a win tonight, it's certainly a good chance for Zorzo to make up a points deficit, especially considering that Lund, with that qualifying going, well, the opposite of his way, that is going to mean that he's going to have to do a lot of work upwards. And yes, he may have the pace for it. The pace is one thing, but it's about making it around the other cars. That's going to be the real challenge here for Lund, and doing so in a way that's not going to upset the order too much or potentially attract the ire of the stewards. Last thing you need is to make that kind of progress. You get reported and you get slapped down with another 5-10 seconds, potentially beyond license points. It's not worth the trouble. So you've got to find that balancing act, and we've got to see how these drivers navigate this challenge. But we are just about to go trackside. Got confirmation that all of the drivers are in. Whether they are technically ready to go, like we were saying, Lund was having some wheel issues, and that may have played a part in his early quali exit. We'll wait to see, but we should be heading trackside very, very soon.
Indeed, and hopefully the wheel issues that Leo Lund says he has have been solved. Otherwise, it's going to really be detrimental for his race. But yeah, not long to go before we get our way in. Of course, in previous rounds, the likes of Sergio Sobrino has been one of those that has started to pick up a couple of podiums here and there. He now starts P2 here. We know his race pace is very good. He does always work his way through the pack if he starts lower down. So he's also got an opportunity to possibly take a win here. Of course, Richard Sprogus as well. We've seen him qualify well in the past, but sometimes has a few issues in the race. So those two have got, a lot of pressure. But I suppose they're not going to be... I suppose their mind's going to be a little bit more settled compared to the likes of Diego Zorzo, where he's kind of got to win tonight, hasn't he, if he wants to have a chance next week.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a question mark that we'll, of course, have to settle. But I'm just trying to get a bit of details and a bit of info right now as to what's going on in terms of the lobby.
Well, the group's ready, we've been told. I think it's just because Tope hasn't sectored a car.
That would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, is there...
We can pick it soon.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the quali, is there anyone that you think we should keep an eye on? I know you were rooting for Sobrino on the opener, and he certainly did prove his worth and prove that prediction correct. I sort of left holding the bag a little bit, but so we'll see about that turnaround if there is one. But have there been any changes? Any other drivers that caught your eye during that session?
I mean, Leo Lund's a difficult one because I know his pace around here is really good, but of course he had that issue in quali, so I think he's certainly one to watch, especially working his way through the field. I mean, Leroy Brown as well. You know, he had a really good bank, didn't he, at the start of the session, but didn't quite find those key improvements that he would have wanted. So I think he's also one to watch going through the race. And then, of course, anybody who goes for a bit of a different strategy. If we see, for example, most of the field start on softs, I'd want to be keeping an eye on those that chose the mediums at the start, because they could certainly catch us off guard and could be the winning strategy. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting a word. Sorry to change the subject. I'm just getting a bit of a word that there is a potential issue with the lobby. So right as we're about to go, one of the drivers flagged that there is an issue. We're just waiting for more details. But yeah, so as you said, there's some drivers who have some really good pace. There's also the alternate strategy consideration. I think we're going to see quite a few different changes in terms of people's approach to the race. I mean, for one, you're going to have that early soft surge, I think, particularly those who are trying to make up for some time, make up early time. And we will have the... I'm just reading here now. We will have, I think, a lobby restart once more. Potentially. I don't really know what to make it. So for context, folks, for those watching, we have gone into the race by this point. We've gone into the race lobby. However, one of the drivers has flagged that due to not selecting their car or having an issue with selecting their car, they are lost on the grid. Now, we're waiting to find out if that's going to be quote-unquote skill issue, or if that is going to necessitate a second restart, because of course that is it's whether we want to judge it game side versus track side. But
whereabouts was Tope on the grid though?
So Tope, I do believe he was actually he was quite high up on the grid. I do believe he was, I want to say 5th. Was he? No, it's 10th. Sorry.
But still a lot to lose, though, isn't it, being 20th? But...
Yeah, 10th to 20th. That is a lot to lose. I will say.
We've got someone selecting the hard tyres on my screen. Oh dear me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, would you do a restart now? Because I wouldn't. I'd say it's your own fault. And that's also because I wouldn't be able to go to bed at not 11 PM tonight.
Yeah, no, that's true. I would be a proponent of the restart just because it's still positions to lose, and yes, it could have been just user error, skill issue, but at the same time, the technical state of the game sometimes doesn't always lend itself to, say, like some drivers. I mean, we've seen it occasionally with pit stops, like getting a wrong tire, like just getting given an incorrect tire or giving an old tire instead of the new compound. It can happen, so I'd be willing to give it a benefit of the doubt, just waiting to find out what the drivers are actually deciding to do. Okay.
So we'll go to the session, retire, and then we'll just go back to the lobby and redo it.
Yep, so we are going to put it, and say, do apologise for this one, folks. We are going to put it to an intermission. No ads this time. We are just going to have a short technical intermission, and then we will cut straight to track when we know that things are set up correctly and things are in place for the race that you've all been waiting for. We apologise for the wait, as always, but we'd rather have the race done right and done once. So we'll be back with you in a few minutes. ladies and gentlemen, after a bit of a wait, we now are trackside properly this time. Everyone's in the grid, everyone is all set. Top 8 is... we was the driver at issue, unable to get in, and it was confirmed to be a technical fault as well. It was not user error, Nathan. Sorry, had to get my little shade out of the way before the race started. But we are now going trackside properly. So, of course, we want to hear from you in the chat, who you're supporting and who you want to see come out on top. I've got an inkling from a few of you, but don't be afraid to throw your driver in there. See who you expect to either come out on top or to potentially surprise us. Looking nice and warm here, and the lights are about to go. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5. The track is hot for the penultimate round of the season here at WOR. It's going to be a blistering one, and immediately, quick getaway from the likes of Riyad Sprogis and Sabrino, immediately going to the outside as quick as he can, lock in that position side by side. There's JST, Gabel Zontos, 2, 3 wide among the entire field as they all make their way through the first sector. Turn 4, everyone's going to quickly file themselves into singles, get themselves into their ideal positions and really place themselves as much as they can. Tope has a bit of an awkward twist of fate. He's dropped himself down all the way to P20. I think he's had an issue in that first sector, so all of a sudden that work has gone to naught. Leolund has overtaken Bida and gone himself into P17, so he's going to start his movements upwards, and also currently in P5 is going to keep the pressure high as he's got a lot to prove with tonight's race.
Indeed, and a bit of contact earlier on with Tope and 2 other drivers. I think Leroy Brown could have been one of them because he has got damage on that car. His right end plate has gone on that Mercedes, and he was only one of 3 drivers to start on the medium tyres. So certainly not working out well for him. And one thing to note is that Leo Lund is one of those on the mediums and has already got past 2 of our soft tyre runners here. So Leo Lund looks like he's got the pace here to launch an attack as we do look further ahead there. Of course, Gabel Chantos jumping up into P3 ahead of JSD in the McLaren, and then Diego Zorzo as well in P5 at the moment. But if we look a little bit further back there, we can see Joel Marquardt here on the attack, looking to get past the Williams of Keaton Lutt here, down towards turn 1. The McLaren's got the inside line and actually goes for a double move to try and get ahead of Andre Molnar.
Yeah, a bit of a sweep there, swing and a miss for some, but there's going to be a bit of back and forth between these drivers. DRS now enabled, 1 lap in, 25 laps here tonight in Jeddah, and it's going to be a frenetic 25 to be sure. Sabrino and Sprogis currently lead and trying to pull away a little bit of a gap to Zontos, but he's not going to be yielding on that pressure. And we also see the fights continue in the mid-pack. Key eyes being on Joel Marquardt. He did go for that move. Keaton Lutt's not going to let him go that easily. He's going to make sure that he keeps him honest throughout the entire race if he can. Sabrino briefly poking his nose out, about a 10th and a half between himself and the lead of the race, but he doesn't necessarily want to be there because we know how easily it can be stripped away at the same time.
It certainly can, especially around a track like Jeddah. Very difficult and really does cost you if you make small mistakes or maybe misjudge a move here, as we do see there. Keaton Lutt looking to close up again onto the rear of Joel Marquardt, and then Andre Molnar, of course, after a bit of contact down at turn 1, has now lost quite a lot of time. But we do have a big battle here heading into turn 27. We've got JSC going around the outside of 1, looking to try and go around the outside of 2 here to get past Sergio Sabrino and jump up into 2nd place. He's side by side here with the kick saber as we head our way back down towards turn 1. The Alpine of Chantos there getting caught off guard at turn 27 and drops down to P4, and JSC back up into the podium spots as we do see Cameron Dowd in the Red Bull there, looking to make a move ahead of Keaton Lutt in the Williams as they go side by side heading into turn 4. That doesn't always end well, nearly a bit of contact. Dowd's going slightly off track, and Keaton Lutt there being shuffled out wide and keeps himself up in that top 10, but making moves there. Sappy certainly isn't going to end well all the time, is it?
Yeah, well, it's almost fun to watch the drivers battle, not just for the sake of the on-track action, but also you can kind of gauge what they're thinking. You gauge what they are saying to each other through the motions of the track. It's like if you go side by side into turn 4, you're basically calling your opponent's bluff. You're saying, right, we know this isn't going to end well, so who's going to be the first to pull the parachute? It's not going to be me. Let's have a bit of fun here. It's teasing your opponent almost, and maybe I am reading a bit too much into this, but I think it's a good bit of fun, and it's also a bit of a peek into the competitive mindset, how much they're willing to push, how far they're willing to go to get those positions.
Certainly, as you do see here, Sabrino is under pressure again from JSD. Pulls to the inside, heading into the final corner, but backs out of it as we head our way into the braking zone. And let's see what moves can be made. Heading down towards turn one once again, and it does seem that JSD probably has a little bit lower downforce than Sergio Sabrino. Looks to have a little bit more raw straight line speed as we head our way into turn one, as Leo Lund takes the fastest lap. We did see there Ryan Grob jumping up into P10 as well in the Aston Martin. And then further back as well, Leo Lund already looking to get on the back of Yannick Schmidt, who's on the soft compound of tyre. And of course we know around here that the degradation isn't that high, so I'm quite surprised to see Leo Lund so quick on the back of these soft runners.
Well, I think rather than go with the rest of the field that's on the softs, and I think that is certainly something he was aware of, knows the strategy by this point for getting around this course. I think he's gone for the mediums just to put himself out of sync with the rest of the field, and I think that's going to give him the best chance to really overcut the field on the positions. He can open up the taps a lot more for longer because those medium compounds are more resilient. He's going to afford to push. He knows he's not going to have as much of an issue dealing with the tyre heat as well as the degradation.
Oh, that was a bit of a dicey one there. Bartomasz Kokony heading into turn 22 went up the inside of Keaton Lutz, and Keaton had to go off the track to avoid contact, and that could certainly end in bad ways for those two, as we do see a bit of DRS chicken here at the final corner. The top five all together here. Diego Sorso is going to look to make it 3 wide as we head our way back down to turn one, and JSC, the one without the DRS. Reinhard Smogus in the lead. Oh my goodness, and that's going to be Sergio Sabrino into the wall and out of the race on lap 5 of 25. 3 cars making contact in a straight line, and Sergio Sabrino from second place into the barriers, and out of all of that, Larry Tolke up into P2.
That is brutal. What do you even say in that moment? It's all of a sudden 3 wide, potentially coming up to 4. I think that is a classic case of too many cars trying to go into a single space. You've got some lucky survivors in all of that, albeit not completely unscathed, but the full course safety car is out, and this is going to be a game changer.
It certainly will be. I'm trying to look here who's got damage. So Gabor has got both of his end plates missing, so he needs to pit for a new front wing. Joe Marquardt has damage, and I think JSD does too on the McLaren. So 3 cars there potentially with damage, and I think Rihard Sprogis and Larry Tolke avoided all of that, and so did Andre Marnot in the Alpine. But I mean, we know Jeddah causes carnage, but I didn't quite expect to see cars crashing down to turn 1. But then again, something was telling me that something was going to happen there, because the 5 of them together, it doesn't end well, does it?
Yeah.
What happened there to JSD?
There's no way that could have ended well, and honestly, I saw, so I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but I saw the 3 cars potentially becoming 4 wide. That's when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It's like either this can be electric or this can go horribly wrong. Now, looking through some of the radio message and contact data, it seems to suggest that Gabor was the driver who made last contact with Sabrino and could have been a factor leading into that incident. But we are going to see a massive cohort of soft tyre runners. Lund has kind of been caught on the back foot with this one, because he's now going to be on the mediums, and I don't know whether you can take mediums to the end from this point. Honestly, I'll leave that to you.
Can't, because he started on them.
No, but from the soft runners' perspective.
Oh, no, they'll make it to the end.
They'll make it to... So Lund is kind of on the back foot here. He couldn't pit in that moment. The softs wouldn't have made it, but now it's going to be a real fight of attrition for him, because this incident has flipped the script against him.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, looking at positions, Diego Zorzo, did he also get caught up in contact? Because he's now down to P10. He was up in like 3rd, so I think he must have also got damage in that whole kerfuffle heading down towards turn 1. And as we can see as well, because of wing changes, Gabor Chantos drops down to P15. Not what he would have wanted going into this one after having a decent couple of previous rounds. And then JSD as well, down to 13th place after damage. So it's kind of helped the likes of Exafox, who started last and he's now 11th.
Yeah, certainly had a bit of a rough one. Now, we are seeing a couple of complaints coming out from drivers. So Ryan Grob in particular getting hit with the double stack curse. He's all the way down in P18. He's certainly been hit with the strategist slap in the face, as it were, but everyone is now going to be condensing behind the safety car. Lund leads, Sprogis in second with Torquay in third. Both second and third, of course, being on fresh mediums, and Lund being on mediums that are now 5 laps old. I mean, it could stand to reason that he'll take those mediums as far as he can and do literally minimal distance on a soft compound just to satisfy the rule. But here we go. Safety car is in, and the track is now in Lund's ball possession.
Certainly is, and of course a 5-lap tyre difference. Around some tracks it would mean quite a lot. Around here it still has a difference, but not as much as normal. So I don't think Lund will drop through the field instantly. I think he'll still keep his own for quite a few laps here in this one. But of course it's Leo Lund who leads the way ahead of Richard Sprogis, who is our net race leader at the moment, and then Larry Torquay and Jean Marquardt rounding out our net top 3. But Leo Lund going to leave it late, warming up those tyres, trying to catch the Red Bull of Richard's off guard as we head our way to the line, and Leo has gone, and Richard's did definitely not get caught off guard there. He's soon onto the rear of the Ferrari, and I think really for Sprogis, he wants to get past the Ferrari ASAP, doesn't he?
Yeah, he wants to just make the jump as soon as he can, as they can't risk anything in as volatile of an environment this is. He cannot be waiting even a millisecond. Now, Sprogis, I think, was reading Lund's movements, and I think Lund teased him a little bit too much. There were a couple of times where he, as if to tease Sprogis, he straightened up and then started weaving again. I think by the third time, he was just on the jump anyway, so he managed to catch that one near perfectly. So we do also have a clip coming in, which we might be able to watch towards the end of the race and towards the interviews. They might give us a bit of light on what happened with Sabrino. So stick around if you want to hear what happened with that. But of course, there is also the part that comes to the stewards. Now, we're just the commentators. We're free to speculate, but the final say always goes to race control.
Yeah, it certainly does. And also, one other thing to mention, a brilliant start by Cameron Dowd, was in P7 on that restart, and then by turn 1, he was up into P5, going to move past Jerry, and then also sent it onto Andre Molnar and jumped himself up into P5. But yet again, all the cars are closing up as we head our way down to the final corner. Joel Marquardt darting to the right-hand side quickly, avoiding the back of Larry Torquay. Cameron Day is looking to try and nip up the inside of the McLaren. Can't make anything work there. And as we head back down to turn 1 again, Richard Sprogis is under pressure here as Larry Torquay is looking to make a move. But also we can see Richard's looking to move to the right-hand side to get past Leo Lund. Leo's a little bit too further ahead, so then Richard has to concede that P2. And now Larry Torquay is up into that net first place. But behind, everybody's eager to make moves. Marquardt, Dowd, Molnar, Bussell, all looking to try and get past Leo Lund as soon as they can, because Leo is starting to hold them up already here. You can see those gaps starting to increase, as we did see there Leroy Bray making a move ahead of Ryan Grob through turn 7.
So Justin Ellis also being hit with a penalty. He's going to be the first of the track to get hit with one. Oh, a little bit of a wobble there. And say Van Bussel tactically pausing there to ghost himself out, get out of the situation. So narrowly avoiding a major issue there. Dowds has made a really good surge early on. He has managed to get those couple of positions, and he's keeping the pressure hot on Joel Marquardt. I think combined with Sprogis being there, it's a tough position for the McLaren to be in particular.
It is, and I think that harms Cameron though, is that just say there's another safety car now and they want to pit, 2 places ahead of him means his teammate, and obviously they're not in the same team off track, so that means they've got Cameron's got a bit of a compromising spot. But Leo Lund there, I think, going for a bit of a DRS game, dropping behind Larry Torquay. And has Leo Lund got the DRS, or did Larry get it? Larry didn't get the DRS, so it's been given to Leo Lund. Leo's going to go back up into the lead of the race. Sprogis as well looking to try and fight to the outside. It's 3 wide in towards turn number 1. Someone could get shuffled out wide, and it was Richard Sprogis who had to drop deep and allowed those two to go through. Larry Torquay now goes up into the lead. Leo Lund goes into second place, and then further back, Cameron Dowd making a send on Richard Sprogis in towards turn 4. The 2 Red Bulls side by side, and that is key for Cameron as we have a safety car, and that's going to be, What's happened?
Yeah,
Wait, how's there a safety car?
yeah, trying to get a read on what's happened there exactly. We've got warnings coming through on the radio regarding track limits, but I don't see any reason in specific while the SC is coming out. Could be, I think we do have a potential culprit. There could be on-track debris, noticing that Zalambida is completely missing his front wing assembly, so I'm not sure what to make of it.
He did drop back as well on the stream. I did look back, but I mean, I was hoping that I didn't call it wrong and that it was just the graphics showing up. And I looked back and I thought, well, how is there one? But I mean, that is key for Cameron. Just say they was going to pit now, which I don't think they will. But if they was, that would save the race for the Red Bull. But I think they'll just keep going to the end. But Leo Lund has an opportunity now to pit, but he's got to go on soft, hasn't he? Because hard tyres aren't you can't use hard tyres here in Tier 2. So he either has to carry on these mediums and hope there's another safety car, or pit now and go, well, it's not going to go 16 lap on the softs, is it? They're going to puncture by then. So, this is really bad for Leo Lund, isn't it? It's not worked out the way he wanted it to, but he's in the pits anyway. He's diving in.
Yeah, well, either way, it's going to be a gamble, and I think he's choosing the gamble of getting his pit stop done, because it's either he does it under these conditions and takes a bit of a speed compromise, or he takes the full time loss of the pit stop under normal race conditions, and you can't bank on the safety car coming back out.
No.
In this case, it literally was a out of left field event, completely catching most of us off guard. You've got Tamas Kokani along with Zalambida and Leroy Brown also making their way through the pit lane. I think there was significant debris on track that was seemingly the culprit of the safety car coming out for the second time. But we are coming up to the halfway point of the race, and we've spent a significant chunk of it behind the safety car, and hopefully this is the last time, but you never know.
No, you certainly do not, as well, here we go once again, as of course Cameron Dodry, Hotsprogis are two teammates. They had a good battle. Safety car came in as soon as Cameron made the move, so Rehard has got to do that all over again. But then again, I feel like the pace that Cameron had is going to be difficult for Rehard to pass, because Cameron flew through the field on that restart. Looking further down as well, a decent restart for Diego Zorzo, of course, dropped down to P11 because of the damage he suffered on that crash on the straight. He's now back up into the top 8 and has probably saved himself with that safety car, because of with Leo Lund now having to pit again. He's got to pit again, so Leo Lund has got to hope for the safety car, otherwise his race is done, because he's not going to go to the end on these. And if he does, they're going to be dead, pretty much. So
we're going to see everyone
Diego has a chance
lining up,
but I think, I don't know if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he has to finish at least P5 or higher here to have a chance of going for the championship next time out.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got these standings immediately to hand to do the napkin maps, but that would check out, and so particularly with the points deficit that currently stands, along with the potential points gained for Zorzo. I think it is P5. That would mathematically keep him in.
Yeah. Well, what was Leo Lund? Ah, clever. Going to go back onto mediums here and take them to the end. Now this could change things. 0 lap old tyres versus 5 lap, and we saw the difference earlier on. What about now, when they're all together on these 5 lap old tyres? Leo Lund could look to be carving his way through.
He's done the strategist version of double or nothing. So he's satisfied the 2 compound roll. He's gone to the very back of the field. He's effectively back where he started, minus Sabrino, and minus half the race distance. The question is, can he make it work with half the race distance? And you've got, realistically, about 4.5 laps of tyre wear on the existing fields mediums, because you are going to be stressing them less under safety car speeds. But it's still going to be an uphill battle, whatever way you slice it. So I wonder what Lund has got in mind to make this one happen, or whether this is damage limitation.
He's got a lot of work to do here, hasn't he? Down in 19th, but he's one of those drivers that isn't afraid to get his elbows out. He's not afraid to look to make moves. So I think certainly he could be in a decent position going to the end here. Certainly in the points, I reckon, here for the Ferrari. But of course, looking at the top, Larry Tolkien is in a very good spot. Of course, he's one of those drivers that is a little bit inconsistent, and certainly one that's looking to try and take everything he can here today. Of course, we've seen him up on the podium before, but we've also seen him have races where he's barely in the points. So this is a really good opportunity here for Larry Tolkien to try and take his first win. And also Joel Marquardt as well, another driver we never really see in the podium spots. Currently sits in P2, looking to try and get his first win of the season as well. But safety car will be in this lap. Well, let's see what happens again here. The top 10 all in contention here. And then Leo Lund, a little bit further back, has a bit of work to do.
Here we go, safety car has fully retreated from the scene. The grid is in Tolkien's possession. Let's see if he tries to pull the same mind tricks that we saw from Lund on the first restart. No, he's blunt instrument. He's gone full on as soon as they exit that final corner. And he's actually caught Marquardt off guard, who was expecting such tricks, I believe. So, already half a second as we get back into race conditions. Lap 12 of 25. This is where things heat up once more. Caden Lew already on the offensive and trying to close that gap up to Andre Molnar in the 5th spot. Got the two Red Bulls, 3rd and 4th. Hopefully they keep out of each other's way, and we'll see how this initial field shapes up, as it's already looking to be a lot of drivers pushing some serious pressure. There's Tope on the back of Yannick Schmidt. There's going to be Leo Lund trying to close the gap as well and get past the likes of Leroy Brown, although he doesn't seem to be having much luck so far.
Certainly, as we did see there, Keegan Lutt there looking to make a move ahead of Andre Molnar. Andre has lost a bit of pace over his lap, and I've been watching Keegan and he's just been pushing him through that first sector as Tope gets a move past Yannick Schmidt and up into P9 for the Williams. And then, of course, as I was saying, Keegan looking to try and get on the power, and also Diego Zorzo looking to close in on the back of Jerry Van Bussel and jump himself up into P7. As we do see, further back already, Ryan Grobb has lost that DRS already, and Justin Hertz goes up into P14. Not what Ryan Grobb would have wanted, and neither Leo Lund, who's in a bit of a compromising spot now because he hasn't made any moves and he's now outside of the main train. But as we look further ahead here, Dowd on the outside of Marquardt, and also we have, I think, Richard Sprogis going up the inside there of both of them and jumping up into P2, but a better exit from Dowd puts him back into 2nd spot. Joe Marquardt here on the outside of the Red Bull of Richard Sprogis. DRS has been enabled on this lap, and Larry Tolkien still at the top here.
You can see Marquardt getting completely boxed in. Dowds on 2nd, Sprogis in 3rd as he goes alongside with the McLaren through the first couple of corners. Now into turn 4, Sprogis is going to hold the advantage, and I think Marquardt wisely backs off a little bit there. Make sure he doesn't get himself into too much trouble. He wants to live to fight another day. And Sprogis has certainly pumped a lot into that attacking move, so he's going to have to spend some time to recover things and get his position back intact. We've got a couple of squabbles. Meanwhile, further down, Van Bussel on the back of Molnar continuing to pressure, pokes the nose onto the inside as we head through that steep banked left-hander. Gets a very nice exit indeed, and on his way out, he's going to go side by side, drag race the Alpine all the way to the chicane. Who's going to take the run? It's going to be, although very dicey in its motion, it is going to be Van Bussel, just ahead of Molnar.
Indeed, and Molnar there tapping the wall on the entry of turn 14. And I don't think getting any damage, but certainly put himself in a compromising situation to Diego Zorzo behind, who actually taps the back of the Alpine, heading through turn 22, and now is on the back as they head their way down towards the final corner here. To the outside goes Zorzo, but further ahead I want to watch what's going on, as we're going to have Keaton Luck trying to go around the outside of 2 cars, and now that did not work at all. Joe Marquardt is yet again on the attack of Richard Sprogis in the McLaren. Further back we do see Diego Zorzo as well, making that move ahead of Andre Molnar. Tope as well, making a move and jumping up into P8. Lots of action going on here on lap 14 of 25, just under halfway through this race. And we can see as well Yannick Schmidt on the attack.
Schmidt's on the attack, Tope's on it, Zorzo's on it. You've got Sprogis having to fight back and forth with Marquardt for a little bit. It's all happening up and down the track, and say in the midst of it all, we've got Leo Lund as well. He's managed to get past his teammate as well as Ayrton Brown in 16th currently, but he's having to continue to push his way upwards to fight and make up time. Meanwhile, mid-pack, you've got Tope continuing his charge. He's on the back of this time Zorzo and keeping it within a couple of tenths of a second. like we were saying with Lund before, Top A's a driver who knows just how to push his car right to the edge. He knows how to get the elbows out, and we have seen that already a couple of times this race, where he's dived that little bit harder, or he's gone that little bit more aggressive on the attack than others maybe would, but it has paid off for him thus far.
Certainly it has indeed. As looking further down, JSD is looking to get past Yannick Schmidt as they head their way down to the final corner. Of course, JSD was up near the top earlier on, had a bit of damage, and has now dropped down outside of the points as we head our way into the final corner. No move can be made there by the McLaren, as Ryan Grob there jumping up into P15 ahead of Leo Lund. Of course, Leo Lund being compromised now, losing that DRS advantage to those ahead. As we head back down to turn 1 there, we can see Dave's looking to try and move into the lead ahead of Larry Tolkien. Can't quite find the move and stays back in second place, and hoping that his teammate Richard Sprogis doesn't find that opportunity to jump up into P2. As we do see there, JSD getting that move complete ahead of Yannick Schmidt, but Yannick will still try and hang it around the outside through turn 7. This could end in tears for one of these two. A bit of tie hook in there by JSD, and they're going to lose that DRS advantage from those ahead, and they have. They've temporarily dropped outside the DRS, and they've got to hope they can get it back quickly.
Yeah, this is the thing with fighting in Sector 1. You technically can do it, but with such a suboptimal line, you saw right there, he's already peeled himself out of the DRS detection range. Barely able to peel himself back in by about a 10th by the time we cross the point. We actually see JST take a bit of an excursion outside of the chicane. He is going to pick up a warning, one more, and he will have himself a 3-second penalty. But yeah, that fighting, that pulled them out by several tenths of a second, and that's just too much to risk. You see JST once again going off track, although a little bit of control loss. He has now got himself 3 seconds on the clock.
Indeed, as we head our way back into the final corner again, Tolkien looking to go up the inside. I think has got that DRS over Dave. We'll have to see once we get that DRS flap open. Down to turn 1 here, going on to lap 16 at 25, and Daves hasn't got the DRS. Tolkien has back into the lead for the Haas, as we have another safety car, as that is going to be JSD at the final corner, spun round, safety car number 3.
That's such an aggressive deployment. You'd think you'd have stewards who are able to pick it up. You've also got a severe collision with Caden Lutling, Jerry Van Bussel with a 10-second penalty. But safety car is... In fact, is that? Yes, that is a full core safety car coming out. Say, I get so confused because of the UI not updating. But third now out. And this is going to be a big problem at this point. There you got Jay and so apparently I'm trying to get a little bit of a read once again on what's happening. Looks like it was, in terms of cars making contact. Let's see, it's a stop-go big collision V-carb 21. That's Jerry Van Bussel. A524 71 177. That is Gabor. So again, looks like Gabor was involved in one of the safety car causing incidents, albeit he looks unscathed, and this time it's JST.
I mean, it could have just been a bit of a knock-on from something that happened earlier on to Gabor, because I'm sure JSD was a little bit higher than where Gabor was. So unless I did get into contact, I don't know, but I don't think they was really together on track. Yes, certainly not good at all here for JSC, dropping down to the rear of the field. Let's see, does anybody dive for the pit stop here?
See, anyone going to make the jump? Looks like a good chunk, yeah. A lot of them going in.
Oh, this is interesting. Some staying out, some going in, and of course, Richard Sprogis couldn't go into the pit because of his teammates.
Yeah, kind of gets snookered. Caught in a catch-22 because you know he'll lose much more with the double stack. You can get these mediums to the end, so now it's a gamble of whether you want to go optimal performance.
Indeed, but I mean, so Exafox going bold, along with Jerry Van Bussel and Tamas Kokony, everybody else going on to a brand new set of medium tyres. So we're going to have a very interesting ending here, because we've got old mediums, we've got slightly old mediums for Leo Lund, Alan Beda and Leroy Brown, brand new mediums and brand new softs. So the ending is going to be quite spectacular here around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Of course, we're lap 17 of 25 in, and I mean, it's one of those you can't really predict it now, can you? Because you don't know whose tyres are going to fire up first, who's going to drop off first. It's, I suppose, a little bit of luck, isn't it, here? And
Yeah.
just gambling on getting the right strategy to work.
Yeah, we are going to see a bit of a convergence in the next 5 laps or so in particular. I think we're going to see a massive surge from those softs, particularly in the first 3 or 4 laps when we come off of the safety car. I think we are going to be going around at least, say, to the end of this lap, potentially to the end of next lap. Depends if the likes of Kokini, Schmidt, JST, whether they can catch up to the safety car queue before the judgment is made by race control. But looking at the field, looking at the tyres in particular, I think this has played well into the Ferrari's hands in particular. We do have the safety car in, also have a bit of info before we go full on. Say, quote, they were fighting last turn, Jay went wide into Gabor and caused a tyre hook. He already said it was sadly his mistake. So thank you, Looker, in the chat for the context. And with that, we are going trackside one more time. Lap 17, heading into 18. Finally, we are going green light racing again. And hopefully this is the last time we see the safety car out. Because I think this is literally either this or one more safety car allocation before they just don't come out anymore.
That was early.
And Sprogis with a very early jump.
I mean, cause you get that really cool view, don't you, of the top down of the final corner. And I just saw loads of cars skirt out the final corner, wheels spinning their way off, down towards turn 1. A very early jump there by Sprogis, and Molnar looking to try and get the jump as well, ahead of Zorzo. And Tope as well, I think, trying to hold the others up, because look how slow he's going. Or has he got damage? I'm not quite sure. But I think he might be trying to hold people up here. He is, because his car is fully intact. So, trying to give Keaton an opportunity to win. Tope is holding all those back behind. And Leo Lund certainly not going to be happy here. But one driver it's harming, Diego Zorzo.
Yeah, so his car is fully intact, so he really is just running that slow and, say, playing the aggressive game of just gapping out the entire field. I'm not even sure how to really read into this, as like whether that is something that can be done, so being obstructive like this on the track. But either way, already 3 seconds that have been peeled out, and Luke along with Sprogis have completely run away from the others. These cars are going to have no chance of catching up to the next DRS queue if this is how things are going to go. Molnar, Zorzo, Lund even going extremely wide on the outside. Lund is going to work as hard as he can to get round. That is going to be all contact being made with Molnar as they go through the final corner. And it's going to be 3-4 wide almost, making their way up into the cross of the lap. Lap 19 now. So Lund trying to go on the very outside. You've got the Red Bull Dowds on the inside. Squeeze coming through. Tope is still ahead of it all. As a orchestrator of chaos, it seems, as we are eventually making our way through Sector 1.
It was 3 wide for a moment, heading in towards turn number 4, but luckily they all went single file. And I mean, Diego Zorzo is going to be infuriated, because I'm sure that Tope, even though they can't work as teammates here from different teams, they are both part of FBR. So that's not going to end well in the briefing room with Diego Zorzo, being held up and ruining his chance here of the championship charge. He needs to be P4 or higher here if he wants to go to next race. Of course, depending on where Leo Lund finishes. If Leo gets a P4 here, it's going to make it even more difficult for Diego to have that opportunity. As we head our way out of turn 15, once again, the gap between P2 and 3, 4.5 seconds. Levitalki looking to make a move ahead of Molnar, but can't. They're just pushing each other through as Exafox has binned it, and that's going to be a safety car! A 4th safety car of the race, and, well, as we thought things would finish between the top 2, it's far from over.
Track's been more yellow than green at this point.
How is he crashed there? Because that's a straight.
Wait, so where did he crash exactly? Just
He
weren't
crashed.
able to catch it on the team.
Just under where the number 2 is.
Wow, okay. So, I want to say losing it under throttle,
Ooh,
but...
And Lutz stays out! Oh my. And Rihal Sprogis. Oh, so I thought that a lot of people would have pitted, but no. Sprogis, the only one of the front runners to dive in.
I think it's just those on the legacy tyres. But saying that, look, Tope and Molnar both well, all three of them are staying out. I thought it would just be the ones on the really old medium, but looks like they've gone on to fresh softs.
So Leo Lund, he needs to get past top 8 ASAP, doesn't he? Because if he gets held behind the Williams again, that win, it's gone. So this is going to be an interesting end because Zorzo as well has gone onto the soft tyres. I mean, I think we both knew before, once we saw Jeddah come upon the announcement for the race, we knew it was going to be interesting, but I don't think we quite expected anything like this. I mean, this, for me at least, so far race of the season, but I've only been here for 3, so I can't really judge it. But what about you, Sappy? Where's it kind of sitting at the moment in terms of the pecking order for race of the season? Surely it's got to be up there.
It's certainly up there. I mean, it certainly takes the award for the most varied race of the season, because just as soon as you think things are settled into a medium, like, it's sort of a bit of a rhythm. Again. As soon as things get to a rhythm, they are just completely thrown out the window once more. You've had everything from the maximum amount of safety cars to all varying strategies at every point in the race. Even now, we've got technically 3 strategies at play. We've got soft, fresher, medium, and old medium, all coming into a convergence point. We are going to be going around, I think, for one more lap there, just because Kamash Kokani is so far behind the rest of the order. The safety car isn't going to depart this lap, but we have such a variance in strategies. We have such a variance in on-track behavior. I mean, we had to say at one point, say Top 8 literally gapping out the competition so that Caden Lute and the Red Bull could go. Then chaos happens.
I don't want to cut over you there, but I'm looking in the chat and I didn't realise Caden Lute is actually within the points gap. If he wins today, that he can get the championship next time, I think, depending where Leo finishes. So I think that Caden Lute is still in contention. I didn't think he was, personally, but I guess I'm proven wrong. He is in contention, so that makes sense why Top 8 was holding him up. Makes a lot more sense, because I thought, well, what's he doing this for? It achieves nothing, but no. Caden has got the opportunity to take it next race, if, of course, Leo Lund doesn't go ahead of Luca, I believe. It's difficult, believe me, I'm not very good at maths. Well, I'm from Birmingham, that should say that.
Well, we were fixated on the top 3 in particular, but it is entirely possible, you're right there, to say that Caden could get himself in striking distance of the championship if he can pull this one off. So I can sort of understand the motives behind it. To say that is we'll call it an unorthodox way of assisting your teammate, considering that it was effectively holding up the entire field and running slow, outside of race pace, to give him that gap. But here we are, lap 21. Everyone is back together. We will be going at full race speed at the end of lap 21, heading into lap 22. A couple of penalties from Justin and JST, but other than that, things look like smooth sailing for the final couple of laps. And we can guarantee this time, no more safety cars. Not only have we used up our budget, and FOM is not going to give us any more, we are also at the end of the race, and laps 24 to 25, you cannot have a safety car no matter what, and they will not call one out by this point.
I mean, with the amount of safety cars we've had this race, Bert Mylan is up there with laps led in this Grand Prix. He's got to have led at least 7 or 8 by now, but here we go. Lap 21 to 25, we'll have 3 racing laps to go here. And Caden Lute, of course, we have been told now, has that opportunity to take the championship. Of course, very slight margins, but still has the chance. But of course, Leo Lund is going to be the one to try and deny it today. Of course, he wants to try and get a win because he wants to be as close to Luca Rapassa going into round 10 as he possibly can. If Leo Lund wins today, the gap between the top 2 is 9 points. So then Luca Rapassa is going to have a very good race if he wants to deny Leo Lund next time out. So Caden, Leo and Diego have got a lot to fight for here. But as we head our way into the final corner, Sappy, let's see, when does Caden decide to go? And he's gone early, very early.
Yeah, he's jumped on it. He's gone on it now. It's going to be go time here. He does not want to waste this opportunity. He knows he's got his teammate waiting in the wings to back him up. And he's got Leo Lund Rowling going for that position as soon as he possibly can. You can see he's already going for the shots there, to the point where he does narrowly dodge the inside wall. Say Tope is going to be sliding his way out of turn 2. He's going to be blocking the apex of turn 4 there. So big opportunities here to make time, lose time. And we're already seeing a second being pulled out for top A. He is just going full blockade protocol. There's no two ways to shake it.
And Leo Lund there, half spinning the car through turn 8, and now Cameron Dowd, he wants to get on with it as well. He wants to be making moves in this race. Into turn 13 we go. Lund to the outside. Slight bit of wheel banking here between the two. And then we have as well Cameron Dowd up the inside. As we head our way into turn 14, we're going to go 3 wide. It's going to be at least 2 wide between Lund and Top A. As we make our way through, Top A gets shuffled off wide. Cameron Dowd to the outside, nearly being pushed into the barriers by the Williams of Top A. As we head our way back down to turn 22 once again, and we can see Top A is looking to try and make a move once again. We're going to go 3 wide in towards one of the biggest chicanes on the calendar, and Cameron Dowd makes a move and into second place ahead of Leo Lund, and now Larry Torkey looking to jump up into P4 as well to get ahead of Top A, and now Molnar, he'll be on his way through too.
Yeah, I think at this point they're just relieved that they got past Top A and that blockade finally is out of the way. He's not completely out of the woods yet. Top 8 is still waiting there, but Dowd and Torquay second and third right now. They're going to be duking it out heading into lap 23 here as we head up to the first corner. See Caden Luke 2.2 seconds gapping already. Lund is going to be displaced down into P5 as Top 8 goes for the chance. There's going to be a local yellow in sector 1. That's going to be JST. He's going to have a very rough innings there. Oh no, that's John Marquardt. My mistake. Looks like he had a major issue in that first corner, and that is going to be a big send-up for him there. Torquay's got 1.5 seconds to make up, and he's making good time, but here you go. He might have this one.
And Top 8 has got himself back ahead of Leo Lund. So Leo has now got no chance of a podium spot here, as it seems. And Andre Molnar, Gabel Chantos, Rihard Sprogis, crucially on the softs, are all pushing through, along with Diego Zorzo as well, but he's a little bit further back from these guys. But now Leo Lund has got a maximum spot of P4. Top 8 making that Williams into a literal moving barrier here. And Molnar is looking to push on as well to make a move. Chantos as well is under pressure here from Sprogis, who's looking to make 1, has made 2, looking to make 3 moves here into turn 22. Slight bit of contact, and somehow they all made it through unscathed. Leo Lund back up into P4 once again here, and very shortly we will begin the penultimate lap of the race. Molnar making a move ahead of Sprogis around the outside. JSC as well looking to try and tuck through. Sprogis actually hitting the back of Molnar as we head into turn 27, and that's going to be Gabel Chance being spun round at the final corner, along with, I think, Rihard Sprogis being caught up there. But we go again, the penultimate lap of the race, and Day's up into P2, and Top 8 somehow still holding off in P6 here, Sappy.
Well, you can see what his priorities are. As soon as he was ahead of Lund, he went straight back into blockade mode, and he's actually playing this very tactically considering his objectives. He's saving as much of his battery as he can. He's not deploying it. That's where the speed deficit is coming from. And then as soon as he's under any kind of pressure, or he sees Lund go alongside or anyone else go alongside, he's straight back into it. He gives it full pump, and he goes on the overtake. But you can see he's starting to lose momentum now in a big way, and he's going to be down now in P7. I think his blockading days have come to an end, and Dowds is now within half a second, closely followed by Larry Tulkey.
I swear that gap was like over a second between Dowds and Lutt earlier on. It's now down to half a second here on the penultimate lap of the race. Cameron Dowds has an opportunity to win. Keaton Lutt has an opportunity to win, and a bit of an outsider chance, Larry Torkey, because he's in third. He's going to have a lot of work to do to get past 2 cars. But here we are. The battle for the podium will commence between Lutt, Dowds and Torkey. Of course, I don't think any of these drivers taken a win at all in this championship season. I think all 3 of them are taking a podium, but none of them for a win. And Larry Torkey with a dart to the inside to get past Cameron Dowds in towards the final corner. Dowds has to try and hang it around the outside, and can do so as we head on to the final lap of the race. Down to turn 1 we go, and Cameron Dowds is on the attack with Larry Torkey.
So big challenge already on the outside and inside here for Dowds as he's going to slot his way through. Caden Luke's going to be displaced into second. Tulkey's still going to remain in third, but he has made his intentions very clear as we now head into the last lap, and they all push with every ounce, every horsepower. JST is going to be crashing out by the looks of things. It's going to be a crash out in turns 4 and 5. You can see Leroy Brown is missing an M-plate. Ertz is also missing a piece of his car. And we have 6 DNFs by the end of it all. 14 racers are going to barely make it home. Cameron Dowds, though, has got himself 8.5 tenths, and it looks like he's going to take this one home, potentially barring any major upsets.
It's looking like it because he has got a nice gap here ahead of Tolkien, but of course we have DRS down towards here into turn 22 and then also into 27 and also down into turn 1. So Cameron Davis has to have a massive defence here if he wants to keep Larry Tolkien behind. Keaton, look, I think he's done with this one here because he's nearly a second back and he's a second back. After being in the winning position, he's dropped down to P3, and then we have a battle between Davis and Tolkien. As we head down to the final corner, Larry Tolkien staying behind now, of course, was a little bit too far back either way, but has the DRS, has the battery. As we head our way up to the line, who will take the victory? I think it might be the Red Bull of Cameron Davis, and it is, after being away from PC for this whole game cycle, four races into WR Tier 2, and he takes a win ahead of Larry Tolkien. And then Keaton Lutz, after the mastermind defence from Top A, unfortunately will come home in P3, and that was really looking to be a win. It was looking to be solidified as a victory, but Leo Lund also deservedly getting the driver of the day. But Sappy, what a race we've had there. It was a bipolar of a race, up, down, up, down, up, down, the whole way through.
Yeah, you had the race on a yo-yo, you might as well have been. But Cameron Dowds is eventually going to come out on top from a P11 start and into the top honours spot. Larry Tolkien, along with Caden Lute, is going to complete your podium. I say all of that work from his teammate is only going to get him third in the end. Still a decent point haul, but not quite enough to get him the result he was hoping for. Leo Lund's going to get himself in from 20th all the way to 4th by the end, so massive jump there. Still great capitalisation of the situation. Closely followed by Diego Zorzo in 5th and going equals. Sprogius, Tamas Kokiri, Yannick Schmidt, Zalem Vida, and Andre Molnar are going to complete your top 10, with the other finishers being Ryan Grob, Top A, Leroy Brown, and Justin Ernst. We do unfortunately have 6 DNFs though in this race, and that's going to go to the McLarens of JST and Marquardt, Van Bussel, Gabriel Zontos, Exapox, and Sergio Sabrino with a very early exit. Where do you even begin when you're talking about discussions for this race? Because it was chaotic, to say the least.
Yep, it was. Leo Lund taking 12 points away. The gap, I think, now is like 2, isn't it?
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the standings graphic here.
So the gap was 14 before, which it was. So the gap would be 2 points between Lund and Rapasso heading into the final round. And of course, these two, both at Veloce Academy, both very good friends outside of this championship. So certainly going to cause an upset for one of them, isn't it, next time out?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be, well, I think that's calling it understatement, to be honest. Yep. We're going into this last race from one of the most chaotic setups of, I think, WR period. So yeah. One of the most chaotic races that we've ever had preceding the start, well, preceding the end of the championship and end of the fight. But we are going to be able to talk to at least a couple. We're not going to be able to say hello to Caden Lute, unfortunately, but we do have Cameron Dowds and Larry Tolkien waiting in the wings. So we'll get a chance to talk to them now.
Yes, we'll drag them in. We'll drag both of them in. There we are. But we'll speak to Cameron first. Cameron, welcome into the commentary box. Of course, it's been a while since I've spoke to you in a commentary booth, but of course, a brilliant race. Taking the win in the end. Of course, it was one of those where it was constantly up and down. No one knew who was going to finish there, where. But of course, qualifying, not the most ideal. P11, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I would have been P5 or P6. But into the final sector, someone crashed, and then I think I was like 2.5 tenths up, and then I went over the debris, and it lost me like 1.5 tenths plus momentum. So I think I lost like 2 tenths or something on that last sector, which wasn't ideal. So it meant I had to start a lot further back, which made it quite a lot more difficult than I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and of course, and after that second safety car as well, going to the end of the race, obviously Topo was holding everyone up. Once you got through, that gap was like 1.5, 2 seconds. How did it come down so quickly? Did Keita make a mistake, or was that pace difference with the tyres just too big for him to kind of hold on with?
Yeah, the pace difference with the tyres was massive. I just had so much more grip than what Keaton did, so it was quite easy to get in.
Definitely. And of course, going on to the final lap as well, you was ahead of Larry by about, I think it was about 8 or 9 tenths. Was you kind of content at that point that you was going to take the win, or was it always still a bit of a worry if Larry would have caught up before that finish line?
I was definitely worried. I didn't have the most battery, and I wasn't completely sure how much Larry was on. Luckily, I don't think he was on the most going on to that last straight, but I was definitely quite scared. But I messed up the last lap a little bit. A few of the high-speed corners, I just went a bit wide, which made it a bit more difficult. But I think I just had enough battery to hold on.
Well, either way, it all went nice and smoothly. So congratulations on the win. And before we let you go, anything from you, Sappy?
The only question I really have to ask is, was there a particular moment where like you sort of clocked that you might be in the chance of winning this? Or given how chaotic the race was it kind of just a play it by ear situation?
As soon as we caught up to Keaton, I knew I was in the fight for the win. And then on that last lap, I seen that Keaton didn't manage to hold on to seconds, and I knew that I could probably just gap. But then I don't know what happened. Larry must have made some pretty crazy overtake, because he managed to get through somewhere in the first sector, and then that made it a bit more difficult. But I didn't really know I was going to win it right until the end. I thought Larry might have got me.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it was a good execute on the situation, and a really great result. So you came, up from a sort of middling grid position in the quali, but ups and downs throughout the whole race. But in the end, very well done, great result.
Yeah, thank you.
Indeed, so there we are. Cameron Dowds, thanks for popping in. And next we'll speak to Larry Torquay. Larry, welcome in, of course, P2 in the end, a very good race. And like we said to Cameron, it was one of those where you didn't really know where he was going to finish at any point in the race because everything was chopping and changing. But obviously going into the race as well, decent qualifying. Was you hoping for a podium there, or was you just a bit surprised by it in the end?
Nah, I was just looking what everyone was doing because there were so many safety cars.
Yep, indeed. And going into it, of course, you started on the soft tyres. Was there any point where you was going to think about the mediums, or was it always going to be the soft tyre?
I was 100% sure that I'm gonna take softs because the chance of the safety car was so huge, and we saw it already like 4 safety cars in this race. It was absolutely insane.
Yep, definitely. And of course, going on to that final lap, of course, you didn't have as much battery as you would have hoped to have. And of course, you was only a couple tenths away from getting past Cameron Dowds. Do you reckon that if you maybe got past Keaton earlier, that opportunity to overtake would have been on at the last lap?
Yeah, I think so, because I was so close to be out of the DRS. So.
Yep, certainly. So yeah, very good race. Great second place, of course, moves you a little bit higher up in the championship. Could definitely try and fight for that top 5 very easily. But that's all from me. Anything from you, Sappy?
No major questions. And so, I mean, I'd mirror the similar question to what I said to Cameron, in that obviously the race was very volatile. There was a lot of ups and downs. Was there any particular moment where you realised that you'd be able to get a podium here today, or like we said with Cameron, was it very much just reacting to what was happening around you?
I mean, I was just, like, after the first safety car, I was like on the good tires, and I was like very good position, so I knew that I had a chance to get in podium in today's race. Yeah. It was okay race though, so.
Well, it certainly puts you good standing for the last race, though. Puts you in very good standing, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, we just drive because we don't know what's the track, so. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Indeed.
say, unfortunately we don't either, so we're just as in the dark as you are. But either way, looking forward to next week and seeing what the finale brings for you, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Right, there we go. There we go, Sappy, of course. Unfortunately, not going to hear from Keaton, but I presume he's probably not too happy with finishing P3 after having a 1.5 second gap. Definitely not going to be too happy with that one. It's great to hear from Cameron and Larry as well, but really, really enjoyable race. I mean, I feel like I kind of picked the best race to come back for, because every race I've done so far, they've got progressively better.
Yeah, you know how to pick them. You certainly know how to pick
Yeah,
them, eh?
certainly.
So, either way, we are of course heading into the final round of the season. By this point, as we said, we don't know. All that we know in terms of what track it's going to be is we know what track it isn't. As in, the tracks that we've had in the season already are eliminated from the pool. That's all we know. We don't have any idea what could come up. And we are very much looking forward to next week. Of course, Championship will be decided, the finale of the game cycle, and the new Season 20 champion will be crowned.
Yep, and of course, pending penalties, the gap stands at 2 points between Luca Rapassa and Leo Lund. Of course, Luca's off on a holiday in Egypt at the moment, hence why he's not here. I mean, if I was him, I would have took my rig with me. You need to give yourself every opportunity to win it, because I believe there is a rig on the line as well for the winner of the championship provided by Next Level Racing. So there is a reward here at the end of the season for the hard work, and I've got to say, this has been such a weird season because at the start of it, Luca and Leo looked just so dominant and they ran away. But as the rains have gone on, other drivers have started to creep their way up, and obviously with the poor race in the end for Keaton in terms of losing that P1, he would have been right on the back of Leo and Luca. Diego as well, he would have been a lot closer. So it's crazy to see how close the gap's got over the season. I would have expected it to get a lot larger, not closer.
Yeah, I mean, we had some really standout performances that have separated some of the other drivers as well, not to mention we've had consistency through Zorzo's points as well as his maiden win out in Spain. We've had consistent podiums from the likes of Caden Lute, 3 podiums, first and 2/3. That's what kept him in the fight. Same goes with Larry Tulkey, 4 podiums, second, 2/3 places. We have Cameron Dowd, technically as a reserve, but of the 4 races, including tonight, 3 of them have been podiums. He's got 2 seconds and now a win. So it's all of these different approaches and all these different stories that have sort of come together, and that just makes me more excited for where this final round is going to go. And you can catch that next week, but for now, folks, this is where we take our leave. So Nathan, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box. It's good to be back in the commentary box as well, because I was not here last week. Hopefully people have enjoyed the different combinations of commentators, and sort of we've had a chance to rotate a few different personalities through the box this season. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. But this is where we're going to sign off. Thank you, of course, everyone for watching. And from myself and from Nathan, good night. Been brilliant. Hope to see you next week.